tiyaga, hindi natitinag sa bawat hamon ng mundo. Katotohanan ang aking aramas, di ako magpapatalo. Teacher mag-react, galit sa kasinungalingan. Sa bawat salita, bumubulusok ang katotohanan. Walang palusot, walang takas sa mali. Ako'y revolusyonaryo sa harap ng mga salba.
Yon, welcome back sa Teacher Mark Reacts. Ang pag-uusapan natin, eto, kahit na yung mga hindi naman parte ng mga loyalista at ng mga DDS, no? Like for example, Hidarian, alam naman natin si Hidarian, ano yan? Dilawan yan at pink, no? Ito ang nasabi niya, no? EO 81, not so subtle purge of the Dutertes. Okay? So, eto, panoorin natin kung paano ba? Ito bang ginagawa okay pa ba or hindi? Or ano na siya, nag-raise na si PBBM ng red flag. Oh.
Marcos has reorganized the National Security Council at a time of discord on the levels of national politics and external defense. According to Executive Order 81, signed on December 30 but only released today, January.
Bangko Sentral considered adds to the council-rating agency, and the Bangko Sentral will also
Wants to be in that body. Am I correct with that assertion? Conversation with geopolitical analyst Richard Haydarian, who joins the big story tonight via Zoom. Welcome back to the show. Richard, okay, the NSC is an advisory body to the president. So he has full prerogative over who he wants to be in that body. Am I correct with that assertion? And what do you make of the first EO of the president in 2025?
Well, obviously, the president has started the year with a bang, and I think you're absolutely correct. We're going to discuss the implications of this for quite some time. Some would say perhaps this is a belated move, as we know, Sara Duterte used to be the head of the NTF-ELCAC. This is the person who wanted to be the Department of National Defense secretary at some point in time. This was the person who was the officer in charge when BBM was abroad. And we saw over the years, unti-unti, no? Nawawala siya, particularly last year. Essentially, she lost all of those positions. But it was still a big wonder why she and her father were part of the National Security Council in light of two important things. So kung titignan natin yung statements na lumabas, there was a mention of essentially additional guarantee. I think you can read in between the lines, perhaps all of the assassination threats perhaps may have to do something with that. But more importantly, the other thing you can hear from the National Security Council is also this implication. Now we have to have alignment in terms of understanding what is our national sovereignty and national interest. So at once, I think if you read in between the lines, what is being said here is that the Dutertes are not trusted by this administration, in terms of whether they share its outlook on our national security. I think this has to do with the fact that the Dutertes are very close to China. And Sara Duterte, who has been saying a lot of things about a lot of conflicts around the world, has been conspicuously quiet on the West Philippine Sea issue. So that's one. But the other one is, of course, this implication that they're not trusted. So you can see this as a kind of a not so...
Well, for me, no, Professor Hidarian, well, the admin does not trust them, no? Iba yung storya sa mga normal citizen. 'Di ba? Kasi nga may hidwaan sila eh. Itong mga admin na to eh. At yung mga supporters, malamang sa malamang, they don't trust VP Sara. Pero yung mga taong naniniwala pa rin kay VP Sara, they trust them. Like the Dutertes and VP and FPRRD. Ba? So it's just subjective matter kung sino ba ang nagtatrust.
Total purge of the Dutertes from one of the most important organs of the state, because the National Security Council, led by former DILG Secretary and Military Chief General Anyo, has been really at the forefront of making sure that this administration doesn't face any serious security challenges at home, and more importantly, coordinates our position on the West Philippine Sea and how we deal with China.
But
It's easy to bring up, no? Madali lang i-bring up yung West Philippine Sea. But the thing is, eto right now, yung sumusuporta sa Pilipinas na, o sige, let's beef you up para maprotektahan nyo yung West Philippine Sea. O ito, mga gamit, ganito, ganyan. That president is not in power anymore. We have Trump. Okay? Ngayon, ang tanong dyan, will Trump support what was previously started by Biden? Di ba, Argo? Shoutout sa'yo. And I don't think they have the same. No? They have the same rules and regulations when it comes to the West Philippine Sea. Di ba? Isa pa, even the government itself, wala kang support. Imagine, instead of beefing up the AFP, your Armed Forces of the Philippines, pinawasan mo pa ng budget. Diba? And then you're saying na, no, we must uphold the West Philippine Sea. Ipaglaban natin yung South China Sea na yan. Cannot. Because even if the administration, no, lacks support.
Richard, I understand that it actually makes sense given the events in the last how many months. It makes sense for them to be removed, right? The association with China, the mistrust, and yung hidwaan and that big breakup within the unity.
And the active threat too.
The active threat too. But on the other hand, politically speaking, how does this set the tone for the rest of the year? Given
Yan.
also everything, the impeachment.
At tandaan nyo, nasa Enero pa lang tayo. Mainit na. And this will last for 3 years, guys. Trust me, it will last for 3 years because they don't want another Duterte to be there to lead again. Kasi nga, they are afraid of vindication. No, not vindication. They are afraid of retaliation. Revenge. Tanda natin sa Pilipinas, uso ang revenge politics. Now, kinakawawa nyo yung mga Duterte ngayon. That's why you are, this administration, trying their best para wala ng Duterte na sumunod maging presidente. Otherwise, they'll be, no, itong mga nakaupo, they will be at the receiving end next time.
Trial, the elections.
Well, I mean, it remains to be seen if this is the beginning of an
Sabi ni Graham Balls, eto pa, yung supposed to be kaaway mo, nakikipagbeso-beso doon sa supposed to be nakakampi mo. Even yung mga lefties, nasa na sila ngayon? Andun. Tropa-tropa na sila. Before, when I was a kid, no, I always see in the news that kaliwat kanan yung kilos protesta kasi ayaw ng mga taong to sa gobyerno, ayaw ng mga taong to sa pulisiya ng gobyerno. But now, yung mga tao na lagi mong nakikita sa TV, nagbibida-bida dahil sa protesta, wala na. Tahimik.
new chapter of direct confrontation because to be honest, I've been on the record saying that it looks like there's tremendous amount of sometimes diffidence on the part of President Marcos Jr. to really take on the Dutertes, considering what they have laid out in terms of direct questioning of his mandate. I mean, you had no less than former President Duterte on multiple occasions, essentially almost agitating the military to do something. You have people close to him, like former presidential, spokesman, Panelo, implying that, there could be some urge to create security destabilization. I mean,
Well, as per Mayor Magalong, there are there are people, no, na nandyan sa loob that are yung masama yung loob. Because of what happened, instead na suportahan yung mga armed personals natin, binawasan pa yung budget. Tapos hindi kayo magtataka kayo, bakit nag-aaklas tong mga to? Kasi nga, hindi nyo naman sinusuportaan yung mga tao. Diba? Oh.
You're seeing all sorts of agitations for separation of Mindanao. So to be honest, I see this as quite 1 year late. But nevertheless, with elections just around the corner, with conversations over impeachment set to take precedence once again, and with all of other kinds of legal cases that could be filed against Sara Duterte and her father on multiple fronts, perhaps this is the opening salvo in a new chapter of confrontation between the two sides. But honestly, I'm always very cautious not to overread into things, because we have a really I won't say notorious, but we have quite a conflict avoidant president. So is this a purge that is the beginning of a new chapter?
Well, I doubt he is a conflict avoidant president. This proves you otherwise. Etong ginawa na to ni PBBM, it's not conflict avoidant eh. Itong ginawa ni PBBM, it's declaring war.
Or is this just cleaning up the house and making sure that the Dutertes are kept at a healthy distance from sensitive national security conversations? Because obviously there are a lot of people inside the government who are not comfortable talking about China, West Philippine Sea, and national security issues if one or two Dutertes, in this case two Dutertes, would be around the corner.
Well, Richard, back in November,
It's just two Dutertes. You are... Bakit kayo takot na takot sa mga Duterte? 2 Duterte lang yung nandyan. Ang dami yung kakampi ni PBBM. Takot kayo? Hindi kayo makapag-voice out? Diyos ko. Nasaan mga bayag ninyo? Ay, sorry. Nasaan yung mga yagballs ninyo? Akala ko ba kayang-kaya nyo yung mga Duterte? Tapos ngayon, takot? Oh my goodness.
November 25, we were talking about it. Nagkaroon ng parang banter si Vice President Duterte pati si General Anyo. Nung tinanong niya kay General Anyo, bakit hindi ako inaimbitahan sa kahit anong NSC meeting? She even requested for a notarized minutes of the meeting to be able to review the accomplishments of NSC. Would this be the response to that? And taking a look at the EO of President Arroyo, she fixed the composition of the National Security Council. What would be the rationale in including past presidents and also the vice president in that body?
I mean, great question. I mean, this just tells you what kind of unprecedented situation we're finding ourselves in, because historically, presidents invite ex-presidents because of their experience, because of the privileged information they may have, and of course, because they may still have residual influence, including on international affairs. So people like, for instance, former President Fidel Ramos, who was considered as a great global statesman, his advice, his counsel was always appreciated by multiple administrations throughout the years. And you saw...
Hindi na kailangan kasi yung advice. Tambi lang, sapat na, di ba? Di ba, Teresa? Dapat dyan, si Darian, ipako sa krus. Yan, hindi naman Pilipino. Yan, Pakistani yan, di ba? Well, I'm not sure, no?
With also former...
Pero they're saying na Darian is from, from the north. Ano daw siya Ilocano.
President Arroyo, despite the fact that she may have had, to put it mildly, complicated relationship, whether it's Estrada, whether it's Ramos. Time and again, we saw different presidents, Pinoy, even Duterte himself, bringing his predecessors, because you want to, collate. You want to bring the elder statesmen. You want to bring their wisdom and experience. And at the same time, you want to make sure all major figures are aligned when it comes to their national interests. But now we are in a situation whereby the former president and the current vice president, both of them from the Duterte family, in one way or another, are not only contradicting the position of the government, but at some points you could say even threatening the government, or some would even accuse them of actually towing the line of our rival in the West Philippine Sea. So we are in an unprecedented situation, and hence we are seeing this major reshuffling by the government.
Iba kasi yung ano eh, the Duterte's stand, no, is not to make enemy of the China. Kasi nga kawawa tayo. We don't have the enough firepower, we don't have enough support to stand against China. Let's face the fact. Okay? Balik-balik ta rin man natin yung mundo, we are lagging behind. Yeah, I know, it is good to protect the Philippines. That is rightfully ours and we must protect it. But the thing is, no, are we capable enough to protect it? Now, if sinabi yung, kaya natin yan. Where? Saang banda? When something breaks out, for example, nagkagera ang China at Pilipinas. O sabihin ng China, akala ko kaya nyo na. Sino ba ang kawawa? Is it the president? Is it the vice president? Oh, no. Remove pala yung vice president. Is it the Senate president? Is it Tambi? No. It is us Filipino people. Unahin mo kasi isipin, kaya ba natin? Bago natin sabihin na, teka, kaya natin to pero wala tayong gagamitin eh. Diba? Teacher Mark, baka expectation nila is guerrilla tactics. Saan sila mag-guerrilla tactics sa tubig? Diba? We should coexist with our neighbors. We should like talk with this ng maayos. Hindi yung you are trying to provoke China o tapos pag nagkagera, sorry na lang Pilipinas. Sorry na lang kababayan. Buti pa nga yung Ukraine eh. Ukraine was supported by the US and some other countries. Pilipinas kaya? But mind you ha, hindi naman namamatay yung mga sundalo ng Amerikano doon. Ang namamatay doon, yung mga Ukrainian din.
Government.
Do you think it has anything to do with, this is slightly more boring than what we were just talking about, but do you think it has anything to do with our shift from internal defense to territorial defense, guarding against...
Sabi rito, paano i-guerrilla tactics ang mga pinaulanan na ng missile? May missile naman daw tayo eh. May 200 nautical miles tayong missile bago nakarap sa West Philippine Sea. Nagkaroon ka lang ng isang missile, ang tapang mo na. Di ba? Nagkaroon ka lang ng isang missile, ang tapang mo na, akala mo kaya mo na lahat. Akala mo lahat ng bumangga sa'yo, giba. Not knowing na superpower yung kalaban natin, guys. Let's face the fact. Diba? Isang superpower, tapos makikipaggera tayo. Hindi naman tayo siguro, yung inaalay ko ang buhay ko para sa Pilipinas, ganun. Cyber attack pa lang, teach, iyak na tayo. Lagi nga tayong nahahak eh. Ng mga Chinese eh. Oh.
potential infringers on our territory and our EEZ?
Oh, actually, I had to also answer to great question too. And I think perhaps the reason they also had to remove them is that we don't trust sharing with you the minutes of our conversation. I think
Diba?
that was a very subtle way. I had to say that, right? Like, oh, you're demanding for the minutes. Oh, I think we don't want to share that
Tanggalin
with
ka na
you.
lang namin.
That's a very not so subtle way of saying we don't trust you guys. And who knows, maybe the minutes, next thing you know, ends up in Zhongnanhai.
Well, that is a speculation, Mr. Haydarian. Diba? Nagpahit na rin si ano? Nagpahit na rin si Haydarian. Oh, na pag may meeting, minutes ng meeting regarding our national security, ililik ng mga Dutertes. Water cannon nga, wala tayo. Sanay naman tayo sa sa Baguio. Kaya na natin yan.
People were Zhongnanhai. So I'm just saying, it's a not so subtle way of saying we don't want to share.
Ayan, may two variants na 6th generation fighter jet ang Chekwa. US 5G fighter jets pa lang. Huwag pa lang iyak na tayo. Sabi ko nga di ba? Air Force na puro air, walang force. Oh.
Share the information. We don't feel comfortable with you having access to the key and important discussion we have because the National Security Council.
It's not leaking if everyone deserves the right to know it. Duwag ka lang, Marco Jr., tambaluslos, sabi rito ni Aaron.
Coordinates all of our important domestic and international security policies. Now, on the question by Sean, yeah, I mean, we are in the midst of a massive transition in our national security strategy in the sense that hindi lang Mindanao yung focus natin, hindi lang NPA and domestic insurgencies. We are at the very forefront of an emerging new Cold War. In few days, Donald Trump is going to take over the White House. In weeks from now, you're going to have the Trump administration knocking at the door and perhaps pushing the Philippines to be much more at the forefront of
I doubt. Trump is pro-China, ha? I doubt he would like the Philippines to go at war with China. Knowing that malalaman ng Chinese government na Trump is backing you, ha? O di let's go to war with Trump. I doubt they will do that. Kasi kung gusto nila, no? Kung gusto ni Trump yung ganyan, noon pa. Nung panahon pa ni FPRRD.
holding the line, whether on in the West Philippine Sea or on even the Taiwan question. So if you're the National Security Council with Trump coming in with the new Cold War expected to intensify, then maybe the last thing you want is to share the minutes of your very sensitive discussions with the U.S. with a certain dynasty or family which is suspected of having a little bit of overindulgent sympathy towards China, which is on the other side of the fence as far as this new Cold War is concerned. So yeah, I think it also has to do with the fact that it's not only a new year, things are going to get hotter when it comes to
Kalokohan yung sinasabi mo, Heidi. Di ba? Kung gusto makipag-war ni Trump versus China, noon pa, nung panahon ni FPRRD pa. FPRRD and Trump, dikit sila. Well, China, dikit naman sila, but not so-so. Diba? Tapos may mga ano pa tayo, may mga issues pa tayo sa West Philippine Sea. Pwede mo namang udyo ka na, uy, gusto mong makipagyera, supplyan kita. Inimbita na nga ni Trump si Xi sa inauguration eh. Tapos sasabihin mo, gustong makipag... Ay!
the U.S.-China competition, and things are going to get hotter in terms of Philippine-U.S. security cooperation as a more hawkish Donald Trump administration takes over.
Well, Richard, E.S. Bersamin did say that the reason behind this reorganization was really to streamline the membership of the NSC. He actually even added that sa ngayon, they don't see the relevance of the vice president when it comes to the responsibilities in the NSC. What do you make of that in terms of the relevance of VP Sara in that? And how do you think her perceived non-critical stance on China came at play in this reorganization?
I mean, this is where you would have. I mean, BBM really needs someone like either Bongo to what Duterte was, or he needs someone like his own version of Ronald Llamas, because I think the people.
Meron naman siyang meron naman siyang kasintambi. O kung si FPRRD may Bongo, si Christian Esguerra, may Ronald Llamas, si PBBM, may Tambi. Oh, ganun lang yun. No need to, no need to overcomplicate things. Okay?
We have in Malacanang are sometimes even nicer than BBM, when in fact you need someone to be the attack person, right? So I think this was, I won't say,
Ano daw?
people we have in Malacanang are sometimes even nicer than BBM, when in fact you need someone to be the attack person, right?
Bakit hindi pa ba sila? What they're doing right now with the Dutertes are all orchestrated by Tambi and his cohorts. Kailangan pa ba ng attack person? Meron na. Ikaw naman, Heider, yan Oh.
Right? So I think this was, I don't know if I want to put it as, it was like a polite gloss on a more or less purge of the Dutertes from the national security organs of the state. I mean, I think this is where you can see also the communication problem with this administration. They need someone in Malacanang who can go out there and spell it out and say, we don't trust the Dutertes. You're not welcome here. We think you could be a national security threat. You already made threats against the president, the first family, and the Speaker of the House. For some reason, BBM doesn't have that person. So I don't know if Ronald Llamas or someone like that is available for Malacanang to hire. But that's, I think, one of the interesting gaps that we have seen with the BBM administration. They don't have an attack dog. They don't have a kind of pugnacious, aggressive kind of spokesman or someone in the Malacanang who will say things that have to be said. But BBM, for some reason, is not personally in position to say that. So yun yung kulang sa atin.
You don't
Yun
think
ang
it's
kulang
the
nakikita
Congress?
natin sa Malacanang nowadays.
And to add to Sean's question, actually, we might not have a front-facing, strong figure, but the president is also giving the House Speaker more power here by allowing him to appoint 3 deputy speakers to the NSC. So does that speak, I mean, that the president and the House Speaker are totally aligned in the past decisions? Because, we've all
Of course. Of course naman. It's stating the obvious. Magpinsan yung dalawa. Di ba? Magpinsan yung dalawa and then they're not aligned. Kaya sabi ko nga sa inyo lagi, di ba? Whatever the cousin do, PBBM knows. Kasi nga, you are the head of the state. If your cousin does these things, alam mo yan. Huwag kang magmaang-maangan. Kumbaga pag sinabi mong, hindi ko alam yan ano ka, inutil, ganun.
always been questioning if this is what the president wants, if what the House Speaker decides on is also what the president wants. I mean, this first EO in 2025, are they drawing the line on the sand that this is, House Marcos and the House Speaker is with us?
Absolutely. Another very important question, because I think if you look at the rumor mills, you look at I think hindi lang Marites to, there have been
Sabi rito, di ba si Rafi pinapaalis rin lahat ng gawa ng Chinese dito sa Pilipinas? Isa ding nagtatapang-tapangan.
some discussions that maybe the Speaker of the House position is no longer assured. There have been even rumors that, the Sara camp was supposedly or allegedly asking BBM, that as part of a ceasefire, perhaps the Speaker of the House should be changed. There have been even rumors of hidwaan sa loob daw ng kabinete. Some of the big figures within the cabinet supposedly have had some disagreements on the state of affairs. So this is closing in the ranks. This is a way by this is a very clear way by with President Marcos Jr. saying that I stand with my cousin. I trust the Speaker of the House, and that the House is very much part and parcel and a core element of our national security. In fact,
Diba? Yung sinabi ni Hidarian, no? That confirms everything na sinasabi ko. Na if the president, no, has his hands dun sa mga nangyayari.
I do not remember too many speakers of the House in the past who, for instance, visited Pag-asa or who were so vocal on national security or West Philippine Sea-related issues. So I think this was a vote of confidence, absolutely, in the Speaker of the House, and also perhaps a way also to dispel those rumors that maybe Speaker Romualdez position is not as secure as before. So clearly, he's still in many ways the right hand or the left hand man of the president.
Okay, speaking of national security, that underwater drone that they recovered off the waters of Masbate, that was on December 30. What do you make of all that?
Mahal kong Pilipinas, sa ML lang tayo malakas.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, the concerns about intrusions by China or by hostile elements, whether it's drones, whether it's missiles falling off in our waters, whether it's submarine movements, this has been going on for quite some time. I think the fundamental challenge for the Philippines at this point in time is to improve more than anything else its domain awareness, the ability to know what on earth is happening within our waters, so that we can deter. And we can tell others, do not mess around, do not put drones or do not put...
But the problem is, no, Professor Hidarian, how can we expect that to happen if the government itself does not support yung mga nagpapatupad ng security natin? Well, the government supports ayuda, no? Ayun, yung mga natin, mga AFP natin, Coast Guard natin, wala. They're left at the mercy of the politicians. Kung bibigyan ba sila ng tamang pondo or hindi. They can even buy a new boat. Diba? Imagine that. How many boats? Ito, tignan natin. That. How many ships does the Philippine government have? Oh. The Philippine Navy operates approximately 19 combat vessels and 16 auxiliary vessels. 90 guys. Okay? The Philippine Coast Guard naman, meron silang 13 ongoing patrol vessels. In 2027, the PCG is set to expand its capabilities starting 2027 pa. To add at least 49. So, that is 62 sa 2027 pa naman. Matagal pa eh. Pero bakit nyo na binilang? Diba? But right now, we only have 13 ships. Gusto nila, gwardiyahan ng teritoryo ng Pilipinas, how can you do so? You only have 13. Diba? Iba rin eh.
Fishy stuff within our waters, and at the same time, perhaps at some point we have to develop certain capabilities to, I won't say shut down, but to deny access. You can shut down the GPS. You can use electronics.
Tignan nga natin sa China. 370 ships. Okay? The People's Liberation Army Navy, meron silang 370 ships and submarines, making it the largest navy globally by number of vessels. The PCG has 22. Oh. Type 56 corvette transferred from plan to CCG. The plan expected to grow. Ito, 400 ships. Imagine that. From 22 to 400 real quick ngayong 2025. Sa atin, 2027 pa guys. Okay? Huwag kayo ano.
warfare technologies, among other things. So I think those things will be very important. So obviously China is flexing its muscle. China is saying that it has preponderance of force in the West Philippine Sea. And I think this is a wake-up call for the Philippines. So all of these are related, right? Because if you look at the Statement of the National Security Council, it talks about both domestic and international. So I would say for the very first time, the domestic politics in the Philippines and the evolving international environment are very much tied. As I said, the Philippines is confronting a two-level or double-deck Cold War, right? U.S.-China, Duterte-Marcos. And this reshuffling...
I doubt China and US. No, I highly doubt talaga.
Within the National Security Council is a direct response to that two-level challenge that the Philippines is facing right now.
Ayun. So, for me, no, some points ni Darian is also, no, mahirap i-digest. Well, anyway, no, maraming salamat sa panonood. No? Kung sa mga gustong pinagsasabi ni Darian, hirap nga i-digest kayo naman. Gusto nyo panoorin ito ng buo, pumunta lang kayo ng 1PH, ayan, TBS, si Darian EO81, not the subtle purge of the Dutertes. Ayan, maraming salamat. Up next naman natin. Comelec ulit tayo. Alam nyo naman kasi, favorite na natin yung Comelec. Gawa ng napakasipag nila. Napakasipag. Okay, so bago kita-kits sa susunod na live. Maraming salamat. This is Teacher Mark. Out. Bye-bye guys.
Ang boses ko'y matatag, katotohanan ng gabay sa harap ng mga malalakid. Walang kinikilingan, tapat sa bawat salita. Teacher Mark reacts, naghahatid ng wagas na talakayan. Walang bahid, walang bias, ang katotohanan ay aking armas. Sa bawat issue, ako'y laging nandyan. Critical thinking sa puso, isip ay laging bitbit. Teacher Mark reacts, para sa bayan, walang kinikilingan. Bawat reaksyon may tapang at alap.